The key thing for me whilst racing there was not to stress, not to overthink things, and keep it simple. Tip top trippers! My name is Donato and welcome to my London Marathon 2022 race review, where I'll be sharing with you 4 key strategies that I've implemented to help me have the best marathon race ever, and maybe it'll help ensure you have the best marathon race ever going forward. Whoa, and now for a quick word from our sponsors. No, only joking. It's Monday the 24th of October and I pre-recorded this London Marathon review last week with all intentions of publishing it last week, but one thing led to another and it never got published. It didn't happen. But anyway, here I am on Monday the 24th and it's a special day because today was London Marathon Ballot Day. Yes, and they also announced the good for age entries, and yes, guess what kids? Yes, I got in! Yes, I got in and I'm so happy. But I'd love to hear from you guys. Did you get into London Marathon next year? Leave it in the comments below. Whether it was a good for age ballot place, let me know. And if you didn't get in, don't give up hope. There is hope. Literally 6 years ago, not to this day, it was in September when they announced the ballot entries, I got my reject letter, and that's the only reject letter I've had from London Marathon, because basically that gave me the fire in my belly, the little added impetus that when I came to run Frankfurt Marathon, I ensured that I ran the best race I could ever run at that time. And I did. I didn't even know I got qualifying times, but I did. You know, you don't know till you know. And it went on for many weeks where, you know, long story short, anyway, that's irrelevant. What is relevant though is that when you go through this video, I'm going to go through how amazing the race was this year, 2022. What I want to share with you guys in this video, the top tips that helped me have the best race I've ever had. You know, even splits all the way through, literally about 6 seconds per mile off in some of the sections, but that's how close it was every mile, even when I was tiring in the last 5 miles. And hopefully for you guys, by learning these top tips, it'll help you and ensure that you have the best race ever, whatever marathon you do next. So without further ado, let me take you on to the race review. In your next marathon, do you want to have the best marathon experience ever? Then you've come along to the right place. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe and hit that alarm bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. If you have been here for a while, you'll know that I'm a no-nonsense kind of guy. So when doing a race review, a marathon, it's not just from 9:30 or 10 AM when the race starts and I go through mile by mile what I was going through feeling. That, to me, that's not the race review. And what are you going to learn from that? Yeah, so this is more for you guys and to help you what we can learn ourselves and together. And please do leave comments below of what you think can help people to have the best marathon they have ever. I'm going to cover through 4 key points, strategies. First one being the week before, second one in terms of the morning and the preparation, third will be nutrition and hydration, and then the fourth, pacing strategy. Yes, I think the last 2 are the most important, so make sure you stick along to the last 2. For me, the marathon experience starts from when the training starts, but it's getting oh so exciting, oh so real the week before. Now the final week in terms of my preparation, it was pretty simple. Rest, carb loading, hydration, and get my marathon pace tuned to what I believe I can run at. And from that experience, I'll then take that forward and I'll talk more detail of how I implemented that in pacing strategy on point number 3. So stick along for that. But seriously, that's why I've sat down. The key thing for that week before is rest. It's the last week of tapering, no need to do anything silly, so I was just doing some nice easy runs, and as I say, a bit of key marathon pace and 1 speed session, but just a simple one, nothing extraordinary. Because remember, the week before it was also the expo to go along to, bib number collection, which for me is part of the experience. It's quite exciting. And how random, someone is running by right now with a London Marathon t-shirt on. How about that, eh? It's a sign. Yes, things did go really, really well. Once you would have seen my race vlog, and for those of you who haven't seen the backstory, I still feel epic and amazing, and I'm so grateful for all your wonderful comments, and it's really heartfelt and touching as I knock the flies away from me here. Bright sunshine here, and I think the police helicopter has come to collect me. But no, I digress. I digress. I'm still right up it, as you can imagine, getting the Guinness World Record, and you know, not having the best of preparations, but I'm glad I've got to look after my health, and that's the key thing. Week before, sleep when we can, but not for me. I wasn't stressing, I wasn't getting much sleep, but I was resting. I was still going to bed at those times. I wasn't sleeping all the way through, because there was still a lot of nerves and anxiety, because I knew I hadn't done anywhere near enough training to put in the performance that I wanted to, or what I'd hoped to months before. But things change, and that's why we need to monitor that, and I was monitoring that, and it was essential for me to just get to the start of the race. So the preparations, keeping it simple. I already had all the hotels booked, everything was all there ready to go. We now come to race morning. Yes, the crucial Sunday morning. I had my alarm call bright and early, as you would have seen. It was around 5 AM to ensure, because I had to get to the Guinness World Record tent really early to register, get all the photos, proof that I'm in the right gear, and so on and so forth. So I knew I had to be up early, and I was on literally the first tube train out from the station where I was at over in West London, to allow enough time for me to get there and ensure that I'm ready and raring to go. All the gear had been packed and prepped the night before, and this is one of the things where I could have tweaked and learnt from, is to allow for change of weather. Even though the forecast was rain and wind, I'd packed everything for that. I should have really packed some summer socks, because it turned out to be a glorious day. But lesson learned, as we say, even at this stage where, you know, the BBC really did push that we were all going to get wet, and it didn't happen. So thankfully the weather gods were with us. So for that morning, my routine is normally a bagel about 2 hours before. So 2 hours before is 7:30. By 7:30 I was already at Blackheath train station. So for me, as I was already peckish, I had a bagel at about 5:30 also, and I had about half a litre of water, which would have been like as a form of tea. So just some liquids to go in there, not too much, because for me, I know how things work. If it's cold, wet, rainy, I don't need much hydration. But that was the actual morning and prep, so everything was ready to go for race morning. And then we head over to race start. Yeah, the next 2 points are probably critical, because we've done so much preparation and we're coming to the start of the race. This is where things can get really exciting and so on. Yeah, so the first one I'm going to cover is the nutrition and hydration. The nutrition I've trained with, to me, it's a season thing. I know what I'm going to be doing on the day. Obviously I can tweak it as I go along, as I did a little bit because of the pacing and being different to what I normally race at. But for me, 4 gels, that's my nutrition. 4 gels, and I take them about every 40 minutes. And normally the 4th gel is a little bit earlier if I'm going for a quicker time, but as I was slowing, I took it, you know, literally every 40-ish minutes. 4 gels, it's what works for me. Bearing in mind I finished in 3 hours 19, so you need to take into account what paces and distances you'll be doing. So you might need more gels if you're going to go at a slower pace, yeah, because you need the energy to keep you going longer. Does that make sense? So I don't go on distance, I go on time, on feet, and energy expended based on time, which I know some people can then equate backwards to mile markers and taking nutrition at certain mile markers. For me, I was taking it based on 40 minutes, and the first hydration point after taking a gel, I would take some water on to wash it down as well in addition to that. But often the timings weren't exactly right, but the key thing for me whilst racing there was not to stress, not to overthink things, and keep it simple. That's what I like to do, because I'm pretty simple myself. I don't want to overcomplicate things. But the key on that day, as it is right now, glorious sunshine, the weather was completely different to what was forecast. It became very warm very quickly, and as I had my hospital gown on, I got even warmer even quicker. So I needed to ensure that I was fully hydrated all the way around, so I took on a lot more hydration than I normally do, because it was a lot warmer than I normally race in. So I've changed and accommodated what's going on. It's basically thinking on my feet, and I know that you guys are all pretty smart and can think on your feet. Whilst the crowds and everything can get us all excited, whatever, we need to remember, you know, there's water aid stations. I think the first one was after 3 miles, straight away water down it, and then it's every mile, and then I think there's a bit of a pause, and then again there's hydration every mile. So they seem to be clusters of 3 mile, every mile water stations. There were small bottles, 250 ml, and I would drink probably most of it. Not all of them would I drink all of it, but some of them I was drinking all, others I was just drinking most, but it was just how I felt at the time. But I was getting really hot, a little bit like now. Nutrition, hydration is so essential. You get that wrong and you can kiss your ass goodbye to a good race, because yeah, and for me it's almost, I need to give respect to the distance and follow through what I've set out to do. A bit of a rhyme there, eh? For me, it's so important to do that. It would seem such a shame if you've trained for months and months, weeks or years, and you just get that little bit wrong and it messes up your day. And whether you're going for a PB or not, believe me, it really does help with the enjoyment of the race if you get your nutrition and hydration right. It doesn't have to be perfect, just get it right thereabouts, and that's what I was aiming to do on that day. And yeah, I was sweating a lot, but I was drinking a lot and keeping the nutrition going. In addition to that, I always carry salt tablets with me, and because it did get hot, I just have 2 salt tablets, so every hour I would take a salt tablet. Now you're probably thinking I went over 3 hours and 3 hours and 19. Surely I would have had a 3rd tablet on the 3rd hour. No, I just have a tablet on 1 hour, and then a tablet, I think it was actually 2 hours 15, somewhere around there, but I was aiming around 2, but I needed to time it with a hydration point at the marathon. So when there was water at that point, and this is why it's important to be flexible with your actual plan, and I'd get the tablet out and take that with the hydration point where I was at. So that's the nutrition and hydration, point 3. Point number 4, and I've left this almost the best till last. This is where, in addition to the nutrition and hydration, which I think is essential, this one is as important as that. Some people may say more important, but they do come together. You get either of these wrong and it can be an epic disaster, seriously. Now for my pace, if you've looked at my race splits and so on, it was pretty much even all the way through. I think there was about 6 seconds per mile difference. Lawrence had checked for me when we'd finished, so it's pretty even pace all the way through. So you're probably asking, Donato, how did you keep an even pace all the way through? Good question. You may recall I said on the week before, or even 2 weeks before, I was doing some marathon pace testing during my training runs. Yeah, we all have this in our training plans. I'm sure you do as well. And that's where I would analyse and check the effort involved trying to run a particular effort, and I know that based on that effort I can maintain that throughout the duration of the marathon. So once I'd worked that out, not what I was hoping for, it's not hope. We never get what we hope for, we get what we trained for. Yeah, I know this might sound a bit harsh. Remember, I'm a no-nonsense kind of guy, yeah? So it's not about hope. We all hope and pray sometimes for certain things, but it comes based on your training. What's your level of fitness at that time? And also, as I've mentioned time and time again, it can change on that morning or as the miles progress, depending on how your fitness is at the time. So for me, I had in my mind what effort I would be running at for the first few miles. Not looking at the pace, just looking at effort and knowing that I could maintain that. And that's why you might hear me say on the videos that it's time to push on or whatever. And I was looking at assessing as I was progressing. And it just so happened, you know, I weren't stressing at the time. Yes, I was going for the Guinness World Record, but I knew if I held a particular effort up to a particular point that I could do it. Yeah, I wasn't hoping to do it. I knew I could do it, but it needed everything to fit in and work on the day, and that's why the pacing was so critical for me. And I held it. Boy, it was tough. You know, when you're running at a particular pace, it's so easy, so easy the first 5, 10 or 15 miles to feel really good, and your tapered legs feel really good and you're feeling fresh and fast, and then all of a sudden everything goes whatever up. Yeah, often phrases we hear of wheels fall off, I go into a dark place. You know, these are the kind of things we don't want to experience during a marathon. It's not pleasant. I've been there, done it, got the t-shirts, and I don't want to repeat that. And that's why I want to learn and win. And it's not about winning the race. For me, the win is finishing and enjoying the whole event. If I've enjoyed the race, it's great. If I get any PBs, world records, those are all icing on the cake. For me, it's to enjoy the experience. Life is too short for me, in my opinion, to batter ourselves up, beat ourselves up. Batter, that's what you do to fish, isn't it? To beat ourselves up for the sake of 10 seconds or a minute or 5 minutes or whatever it may be. Just enjoy it and go with the flow. So the pacing, I knew from the off what effort that I could go at to keep it easy. I know what my easy effort is, and that's how I started. First 5-10k holding it easy, and then slowly picked it up in terms of effort. The pace wasn't getting any quicker, but the effort was increasing. I could do a whole video on heart rate and how it increases over time. I'm sure there's a buzzword for it if you want to leave it in the comments below, but our heartbeats increase the longer we keep running. So to maintain that pace, it takes more effort. Yeah, so to hold a steady pace all the way through, even pace, your effort will be increasing as it goes through. That's why for me, that last 3 or 4 miles where I'm saying on my video, you know, it felt like my legs wanted to stop. They were screaming at me, stop, 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 but it was go, go, go. It's just pushing harder on the effort, but the speed wasn't increasing. Although in my mind I felt I was sprinting. I did sprint that last 400 meters, which I'll talk about right now. I thought I'd better have a quick sit down. That last 400 meters, when I saw that sign 400 meters to go, and I'm sure a lot of you who were running London as well thinking, wow, only 400 to go. But for me, I did start, it was around mile 21. I knew that I checked my pace, I checked the time. In my brain, I always had 3 hours 20. 3 hours 20 was the time to beat. And by halfway, it looked doable because I was about a couple of minutes inside the time and still felt comfortable. I thought, yeah, I can hold this, I can hold this. And I believed that, or the hope was coming in. But the reality was starting to bite by about mile 18, where the legs were really tiring. And I mentioned it was the longest run at that point that I'd done since, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. So the legs were really feeling it. But in my mind, and this is where maybe lessons to be learned and that's helped with the enjoyment, I wasn't going to give that up. Something inside me, it may have been for my late aunt, or there was, you know, there's some things that we can't explain what goes on inside us as human beings, and there's more than the physicality, but there's only so much you can bring on in terms of the human spirit. But what really does help is those people out there cheering and screaming, and all I kept hearing was Donato, you're amazing, from all these people. And there's some of the runners past me, some of you guys who watch this channel were passing me, or I was passing you, and it was incredible. And that really lifted my spirit. Those last 5 miles was literally, I don't know where it came from. Clearly there was some legacy or history. Legacy, do you see what I said there? Legacy in the legs. I know, pun a minute here, pun a minute. I had it in me, and that's why I was able to do it. The 400 meters, when I looked at my watch one last glance, because I could see the clock ticking and I could see it sort of ebbing away, but when I saw 400 meters to go and it was 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes left on the clock to get under 3:20, because it said 3:18 something, I knew I had to really go for it. Because as much as I say it's the icing on the cake, I probably would have been really disappointed if I'd missed the world record by a second or 2 seconds or 10 seconds. That would have been really gutting. I hadn't gone all that way. I don't even know what's 0.2 miles is that, the 400 meters, is it? Or it might be more than that, but I hadn't ran 26 miles to blow it in the last 400. And there was certainly going to be no wheels falling off for me, so I just gritted my teeth and went for it. And when you're running in a full hospital gown, I just had to make sure I didn't trip over, because there was a few incidents throughout the race where I nearly did go down a few times, and I didn't want that happening, you know, with the gown getting caught between my legs, the wind, crosswinds, you're running at speed. Yeah, it was a challenge, but crossing that line, and when I stopped that watch and I looked down and it said 3:19 something, I knew I had that world record. And the feeling of elation, and then seeing the gentleman who came over from Guinness World Records to congratulate me, I mean, words...
I have to tell you that congratulations, you're officially amazing, because you have broken the record.
Words are not enough to describe the elation that felt. And hopefully for you guys watching this, replay it, watch it many times, those 4 key tips, that's what can help you have an amazing race also when you come to your next marathon, if that's what you want to do. Strategies like this apply, I think, even on half marathons and 5Ks, 10Ks. It's all about getting the pacing right and not burning yourself early on. I think you know, sometimes it's easy to criticize others and what goes on and what race plans and strategies they fail to implement, but really they're all doing their own thing, and let them carry on. You focus on yourself and what you want to do and how you want to do it, and that's what I did on the day. I focused on what I needed to do, focused on my pace, my race, and delivered what I set out to do, which was to set a Guinness World Record. And in honour of my aunt, and the link is below for you to make your donations to Dementia UK. So it was all worth it in some way for people less fortunate than us. So thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate this, and there's still more to come on London Marathon videos, and I'd love to hear your comments below whether you want to see the 26.2 amazing people, or the Baby Shark and or Baby Shark version. Yes, I know, we've got to enjoy the journey, haven't we? Peace out, love you all.